Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, the Ukrainian offensive appears to be coming near its end. Um, I refuse to call it a counteroffensive because Ukraine began the offensive in 2014. So, this is not a counteroffensive. What Russia has been doing has been a counteroffensive. So, um, anyway, there are a lot of people that have been blaming Russia for the uh, for the destruction of the dam. This makes absolutely no sense because this caused problems for both sides, but it caused more problems for the Russian forces than for the Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainian side of the Dnieper River is considerably higher than the eastern side, uh, and it has been mostly the eastern side which has been flooded. A number of townships have been flooded. Um, you know, this impacted the water supply for irrigation and for Crimea. So there's really nothing that you know is of benefit to Russia on this. Uh, some people have said that this was just the dam collapsing from previous damage, and I refuse to believe that, especially with the timing of this occurring. Um, there is an extreme danger to the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. If the water supply uh, drops too low, there will not be enough water to cool the reactors. Now, there is only one reactor which is on basically, the lowest level of production at this time, only to keep the power going to the power plant itself, to power water pumps and so forth and so on, monitoring equipment and all of that. Now they can hook up diesel generators for that purpose, which Russia has done before. But if there's no water to pump, then you've got problems. And there are 6 reactors. This is the largest nuclear power plant in all of Europe. So uh, hopefully that water level is not going to drop that low. The IEA, International Energy Agency, the International Nuclear, can't think of it, agency, have sent more monitors, more inspectors to the site, and so and keep in mind that Ukraine has been attacking this power plant and this dam since last year. Uh, you know, so this has been on purpose by Ukraine. Uh, so let's hope that that nuclear power plant doesn't melt down. Hey, this does bring up a few questions to me, such as how do they transport nuclear fuel to a power plant? Um, it has to be transported in some way. Can't they remove these rods from the power plant and transport them to another site? Uh, I don't know. I don't know how that works. So I am not a nuclear expert by any means. So, in the first 3 days of the Ukrainian offensive, according to Russian reports, Ukraine is not releasing any information, so you have to go by Russian reports, uh, which have proven in the past to be extremely accurate. At least as far as Ukrainian losses. Now, of course, Russia can be understating their own losses. That is a possibility, but it doesn't seem all that likely. Even from reports from Ukrainians on the front lines, the Russian reports appear to be very accurate. So, in the first 3 days of this Ukrainian offensive, Ukraine lost 5,000 casualties. I believe that is both fatalities and injuries from soldiers that had to be removed from the lines because they were too injured to continue fighting. Whereas Russia lost 71, they report 71 fatalities and 250 injured. So the losses are 10-1 in Russia's favor. Ukraine has, in the first 3 days, lost over 50 tanks, several hundred armored vehicles, hundreds of regular vehicles, and also hundreds of howitzers. Ukraine has reported taking small amounts of territory, but for example, they reported that they were in control of one small town or a part of one small town. Patrick Lancaster did a video that was released yesterday where he was in this town that Ukraine had claimed that they were in control of, and there were no Ukrainians within that town. Russia was in complete control. Reports coming out this morning are showing Ukraine seized a few, maybe 100 meters in a couple of places of empty farmland. There, with no tactical advantage. In fact, it's flat ground, which probably puts them at more risk because it's all out in the open. Zelensky, reports coming out now are that Zelensky is in the Kharkov region and he is talking about a peace agreement with Russia if Russia will change their criteria for for the invasion, for the special military operation. And Russia is not going to do that. The objectives of the special military operation, let me remind you again: demilitarization of Ukraine, denazification of Ukraine, liberation of the Donbass region, and the acceptance of Crimea as part of Russia. So these have been the objectives from the very beginning. No, Russia is not going to withdraw. Russia is not going to hand over these areas. If Russia handed these areas over, what would Ukraine do to the populace in those regions? We know what Ukraine would do to the civilians. They already said that they would, anybody that voted in the referendum for the 4 regions, it didn't matter which way you voted. If you voted, you would be considered a criminal, a traitor to Ukraine. Even if you voted in favor of remaining part of Ukraine, if you voted, you would be considered by the Ukrainian government to be a traitor. So they would apply this also to the people in Crimea. So what would happen to these people? So um, yeah, some sources are saying that part of this changing the goals of the special military operation would be allowing Ukraine to retain their military and to join the EU or NATO, and that is absolutely off the table. That is not going to happen. Uh, Russia has been talking for years, talking about the encroachment of NATO closer and closer to the Russian borders. Having Ukraine as part of NATO is a non starter. It is not going to happen. Uh, Russia has stated if Ukraine joins the European Economic Union, that's fine, but NATO is not going to happen. So, now things to note are that I don't think that this has been confirmed. Zelensky has not contacted Russia with these suggestions. This has only been released within Ukraine, and I don't think it's been widely publicized even there as yet. So this battle continues. That Ukraine just keeps on bleeding out their own people. Uh, there is no chance. They do not have a chance of winning any of this, and nobody wins in warfare. But just the rumors that Ukraine may be beginning to be willing to negotiate is a major step forward. I don't believe that Russia is going to accept the current administration remaining in power in Ukraine at all. Of course not. Would you? No. Yeah. With all the terrorist attacks, destruction of a dam that puts a nuclear power plant in danger, the attacks on civilians. No, they are not going to accept this administration remaining in power. Would you? If somebody kept on shooting at your family members, would you accept them being able to, retain possession of a gun? No, you wouldn't. So I'm hoping this is becoming more hopeful that an end is within sight. Let's hope. Let's cross our fingers. Now, if Russia wants a regime change in Ukraine, I don't think they're going to install their own puppet in place like so many people say. What they're going to demand are new elections. Remember, Zelensky was elected on a platform of ending the Donbass conflict. I do not believe that most of the Ukrainian people really endorse this conflict at all. They're being conscripted against their will. You got teenagers and 60-year-olds being picked up off the street and forced into service, and their military is just, it's collapsing. So where we are is closer to a resolution of this conflict, but we're nowhere but closer, but we're nowhere actually near the end of it. I believe that it will continue maybe for another week. I'm expecting that within another week that this may come to a conclusion with the rate at which this is occurring. And that is good news. Maybe another week. I could be wrong, could be longer, but I don't think it's far off. All right, share this video, talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day.